My name is Raina Lewis. I'm 41, a commander in the United States Navy. And on the day this story began, I found myself staring at my closet, not looking for what to wear, but what not to. The request had come 2 days earlier, wrapped in my mother's soft voice over the phone. Sweetheart, Andrew's engagement party is going to be lovely, very formal. And well, we think it might be best if you didn't wear your uniform. You know, to keep things light. I said nothing for a moment, letting the words sit in the space between us. To keep things light, as if my career, my rank, my years of service were somehow a heavy cloud threatening their sunny little celebration. I knew what she meant, even if she didn't say it out loud. Don't intimidate the guests. Don't outshine your little brother, the golden boy with the investment banking job and the Rolex that somehow made the rounds more often than the family photo albums. I'm used to being asked to make myself smaller. It's been a quiet expectation threaded into birthday dinners and holiday gatherings for years. But this time, it felt different. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a boundary. A polite way of telling me that my presence in full uniform, with all it represented, wasn't welcome. They didn't want to be reminded that someone in their family made life and death calls or commanded fleets. They wanted a woman in a soft dress, holding a mimosa, nodding along to small talk about wedding favors and home loans. Andrew has always fit the mold. Tall, charming, Ivy League educated. He talks about market movements like they're gospel and never has to explain what he does, because no one dares admit they don't understand it. They just assume he's important. Meanwhile, I could be fresh off a multinational operation and still get asked if I was taking some time to figure things out, or if I was still just good with boats. The party was held at a glassy event venue in downtown, D.C., all white florals and Instagram lighting. Everything about it screamed curated perfection. I arrived early, dressed in a navy blue sheath dress and low heels, the kind of outfit you wear when you're trying to blend in just enough not to be a problem. I told myself it didn't matter, that it was Andrew's night, not mine, that this wasn't the place to make a statement. But as soon as I stepped into the room, I felt it. The soft, practiced smiles. The way conversation shifted slightly when I approached. The carefully polite questions that danced around my job, like it was some quirky hobby. A few asked if I was still doing that Navy thing, as if it were a side project I picked up between yoga classes. And then there was Sarah, Andrew's fiancée, all teeth and hair and expensive perfume. She floated across the room in a silver dress, champagne in hand, the queen of the evening. When she reached me, she gave me that glittering kind of look that didn't quite meet the eyes. "Raina, you made it!" she squealed, as if I'd been plucked out of thin air. "Andrew said you work on ships, right? Like decorating them or doing office stuff for the military?" She laughed before I could answer, tossing her hair over her shoulder. It wasn't cruel, just careless, like someone stepping on your foot and not noticing. I smiled, the kind you learn to wear when biting back the truth. Because that's what they wanted. They didn't want Commander Lewis. They wanted the sister who knew how to disappear. As I stood near the bar, glass in hand, watching Andrew work the room like a campaign event, I realized something I hadn't before. This wasn't about my uniform. It wasn't even about the Navy. It was about control, about preserving a hierarchy, they understood. Andrew made sense to them. I didn't. And in that moment, something shifted. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet tightening in my chest. A decision is taking shape beneath the surface. I wasn't angry. Not yet. But I was done pretending this didn't hurt. There's a mug at the back of my kitchen cabinet that I haven't touched in years. It's white ceramic, cheap feeling, with the words, "Girl Boss," stamped across it in thick pink bubble letters. They gave it to me for Christmas, all laughing as I unwrapped it. My aunt called it, "Perfect for your little desk job." I smiled like I was supposed to, said thank you, and placed it gently beside my plate. That same year, Andrew got a Rolex. Not for a promotion or a life milestone, just for landing a mid-level position at a consulting firm. They passed it around the room, like it was a holy relic. My uncle held it up to the light, marveling at the weight. My grandmother asked if he was allowed to wear it at work, in case it intimidated clients. No one asked where I had just flown in from. No one brought up the fact that I'd recently coordinated an international naval operation involving 5 allied nations. Instead, they asked if I was still moving around a lot and whether I'd found something more stable. I learned early on that it was easier to let them think I had an office job, something benign and forgettable. If I tried to explain what I actually did, the questions turned hollow. They didn't want to hear about strategy or risk. They wanted logistics to sound like color-coded spreadsheets and supply boxes, not command centers and classified briefings. So I started calling it logistics too. Easier that way. Andrew was always the benchmark. He had the pedigree, the handshake, the charm that read well in rooms full of donors and country club golf tournaments. He made people feel comfortable. I made them squirm, not on purpose, just by being who I was. I didn't fit their mold. Success, to them, wore cufflinks and talked about quarterly returns. Mine wore steel-toe boots and made decisions that moved ships. One Thanksgiving, Andrew once brought a pitch deck to brunch, and everyone leaned in like it was a Pulitzer-winning novel. I once missed Thanksgiving because I was deployed off the coast of Somalia during a security escalation. When I got back, all they said was, "We saved you some pie." Like I'd just missed a book club meeting. It wasn't cruelty. It was worse. It was erasure. That kind of erasure doesn't come with loud insults or open mockery. It comes with the slow erosion of recognition. The constant reminder that your path, no matter how demanding, doesn't match the family blueprint. That no matter how high you climb, they'll always see you standing just a little too far outside the frame. I spent years smiling through it, letting them celebrate Andrew's every tiny win while pretending mine didn't exist. And for a long time, I told myself it didn't matter. But the truth is, it did. And the mug still sits there, tucked behind souvenir cups and chipped glassware, not because I treasure it, but because it reminds me of what I used to settle for. The call came on a Tuesday night. I just finished reviewing readiness reports for an upcoming Pacific deployment. My eyes were burning, coffee cold, and my brain running on fumes when my mom's name lit up my phone screen. I hesitated. Calls from home rarely came without strings. I answered anyway. Her voice was sweet, almost too sweet, like sugar poured over something sharp. "Hi, honey. I know you're busy. We just wanted to chat about Andrew's engagement party." I didn't say anything. I already knew there was a but on the way. She kept going, each word carefully chosen. "It's a big event, sweetheart. Sarah's father is going to be there. He's very important, and we just thought maybe it would be better if you didn't wear your uniform this time." She let that hang in the air like it wasn't the real point. Then came the kicker. "Just wear something more approachable." That word hit harder than she realized. Approachable. As in, less intimidating. Less like me. Less like a woman with rank, command, and years of experience that most of their dinner guests couldn't even imagine. She passed the phone to my aunt, as if to hand off the hard part. "It's not that we don't respect what you do, Raina," my aunt said, "but with Sarah's dad being in defense contracting, it's better if you just say you work in logistics. It sounds more relatable." Logistics. Their favorite shield to shrink me into something safe and small. I got off the call without saying much, just enough to keep the peace. Then my phone buzzed again. A text from Andrew. "Hey, Nat, Mom told me she talked to you. Just don't make it weird. Okay? It's a big night. Don't make it weird." I stared at that sentence until my screen dimmed. That wasn't a request. It was an order to stay in my box. To not take up space. To not be a problem. Something changed in me right then. Not an explosion. A shift. I wasn't hurt this time. I was clear. They didn't want me to be less military. They wanted me to be less me. And I was done playing along. After the call ended, I didn't cry. I didn't pace or yell. I sat still in the quiet of my office, the glow of the monitor soft against the dark. Then I opened my laptop. It took more than a moment to find what I was looking for. Atlas Systems, the defense firm Sarah's father ran. The same company is currently holding a logistics contract tied to our coastal deployment strategy. I spent 3 exhausting hours cross-referencing data from 3 separate confidential databases, tracking a subtle, recurring reporting gap that should have been flagged weeks ago. Missed deadlines, incomplete documentation, gaps in reporting that were cleverly hidden. This wasn't a family slight anymore. This was a professional concern, and I had a responsibility to act. I wasn't operating as someone's sister now. I was the vice commander of the task force reviewing that very contract. I pressed the intercom. Lieutenant Jennings. My office. He arrived within seconds. Posture straight. Eyes alert. He knew this version of me. Calm. Focused. Unreadable. We're attending the reception Saturday, I said. Pull everything we have on Atlas. Compliance summary. Full performance files. He nodded without question. Civilian dress or service uniform? I looked up. Full dress. Official duties. Make it known. He gave a small nod of understanding and left. No questions, no surprise. That's the thing about command. You don't need to raise your voice when your decisions are rooted in clarity. I wasn't going to the party to prove a point. I was going to uphold my duty. For years, I had let them shape the narrative. I let them decide what was appropriate, what was too much. But not this time. This wasn't about being respected by my family. This was about doing my job without apology. They wanted a version of me that fit their comfort zone. I was about to remind them who I really was. Not with speeches, not with anger, just with presence. And this time, I wouldn't be asking permission to be seen. I arrived 10 minutes early, just as planned. No uniform, just a clean navy blue dress, hair pulled back, heels low and practical. I looked exactly how they wanted me to look. Polished, unremarkable, quiet. The room was already buzzing with soft laughter and clinking glasses. White roses, gold accents, and a jazz quartet playing in the corner. A picture-perfect evening. When my aunt spotted me, her whole body relaxed. She crossed the room quickly, lips tight with relief. "Thank you for being so gracious, Raina," she whispered, giving my arm a quick pat, like I was a child who'd finally learned her place. I nodded once. No smile. Just enough to let her believe I'd complied. I moved through the crowd with measured steps, scanning faces, noting where Sarah and her father were. I wasn't here to be seen. Not yet. I was here to see. Sarah found me first. She was radiant, in the way some people are when they know the spotlight's been waiting for them. Her dress shimmered like frost, her champagne flute never empty. "Raina, you made it," she chirped, loud enough to draw a few heads. Her smile was big, bright, and hollow. She looked me over and gave an approving nod. "You look so elegant. So normal." The way she said it was meant as a compliment, but it landed like a slap. I smiled, polite, and practiced. Then she turned to the small group surrounding her and said, "Did you guys know Raina works in the Navy? She decorates ships or does office stuff for the military." A soft ripple of laughter followed. One man leaned in, grinning. "So, you're like the Martha Stewart of submarines?" Sarah giggled like he'd said something clever. The others joined in. Not cruelly, just carelessly. Like I was a mascot. They didn't have to take me seriously. I didn't flinch. I didn't correct them. I just let the silence breathe for a beat too long. Let their laughter hang a little awkwardly in the air. Then I shifted my gaze. Not to Sarah. Not to Andrew. I looked directly at her father. He was 2 seats away, watching. Not speaking. not smiling, just observing, like a man who hadn't figured out what kind of storm was coming. Our eyes locked. He blinked first. I didn't need to say anything yet, not while they were still laughing. That moment was coming, and none of them were ready for it. I let the last laugh fade before I spoke. My voice stayed low, calm. I didn't look at Sarah or her crowd. I kept my eyes on her father. I command the logistics chain that Atlas Systems reports to. The words didn't echo, but the silence that followed said everything. No one at the table spoke. Sarah blinked, confused. Andrew stared at the tablecloth like it might offer a way out. But Mr. Carter? His expression shifted. Not just surprised, calculating. His fork hung in midair. He set it down slowly. "Command?" he asked, like he needed to hear it again, to believe it. I nodded once. "Vice Commander Raina Lewis, your firm is currently under compliance review for the coastal deployment contract." I didn't smile. I didn't need to. His face told me he understood. That's when my aide arrived. Lieutenant Jennings, full-service uniform, precise steps across the marble. Every head near us turned as he approached, carrying a secure briefcase bearing the Navy seal. He stopped behind my chair and spoke with crisp clarity. "Commander Lewis, you have a secure briefing at 2100 regarding the Atlas file. I've brought the preliminary documentation." I took the case without looking up, set it on the table, clicked it open. Inside were performance reports, delivery logs, and compliance checks. Real numbers. Real power. I slid one folder toward Mr. Carter, without saying a word. His hands hovered before he picked it up. His eyes scanned the first page, and I saw it. The quiet panic. Not because I threatened him, because I didn't need to. The facts were already in motion. His company had been flagged. And now he was sitting across from the woman holding the pen that decided what happened next. The rest of the table had gone silent. Sarah's smile was gone. Andrew still wouldn't meet my eyes. I stayed still, calm, as the weight of it settled around them. This wasn't revenge. This was a responsibility. I looked back at Mr. Carter and said evenly, "This isn't the setting I would have chosen, but since we're all here, let's begin." He straightened in his chair. The laughter, the assumptions, the hierarchy, it all cracked in that moment. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't flex. I just showed up and let the truth do the rest. I didn't hear much from my family after the engagement party. There were awkward texts, a few half-hearted attempts to smooth things over, but something had shifted, and this time, I didn't rush to fix it. A year later, I stood on the tarmac at Andrews Air Force Base, the sun sharp against my full-dress uniform. I had just taken command of a joint task force that most officers only dream of leading. The ceremony was crisp, formal, earned. The applause came not in bursts, but in one clean wave. Not polite, not reluctant, just respect. Real and steady. I looked out across rows of Marines and sailors and saw the people who actually knew what I stood for. My eyes landed on General Abrams. He gave me a nod. No speech, no fanfare, just a quiet sign of equals. That afternoon, I stood alone in my new office. The harbor below shimmered in the late light. Files would come. Decisions would stack. But for now, there was peace. And not the kind that comes from silence. The kind that comes from clarity. My aide brought in a cream envelope. The kind printed with expensive ink and careful branding. A thank you letter from Mr. Carter. Polite. Professional. He wrote that Project Atlas had not only recovered but now exceeded performance targets. He thanked me for setting a new standard. Inside, tucked behind the formal note, was a handwritten card. It read, "P.S. Please extend my apologies to your family. I should have recognized your caliber immediately." I read that line twice. That wasn't just a thank you. It was the closest thing to an acknowledgement and apology I'd ever get from that world. And it was enough. Not because I needed it, but because I didn't. I walked to the window and looked down at the carriers resting in the water. My real team will be arriving soon. People who didn't care about appearances or family rank. People who showed up, held the line, and never asked me to shrink. If you've ever felt like the invisible one in your own story, I see you. I spent years hoping they'd finally say they were proud of me. But the truth is, their approval was never the prize. You don't need their applause to know your worth. You just need one moment of truth. And when it comes, you'll feel it like a breath you've been holding for years. I did, and I never gave it back.